Hello, I'm Frank Hartman with the Hartman Law Firm, and I'm a practicing attorney in Charleston, South Carolina, specializing in auto accidents and personal injury. And today we're going to answer the question, how can you get a divorce without a lawyer in the state of South Carolina? This process is called getting a divorce, quote unquote, pro se, which is a Latin term that essentially means moving forward on your own, as in you do not have legal representation. And the first thing that I would encourage you to do is to go to scbar.org, that's southcarolinabar.org, and that's a website for the South Carolina Bar Association, which is the association that governs lawyers in the state of South Carolina. If you look in the lower left-hand corner of the website, you'll see that there's a packet that is specifically for people who want to move forward and get a divorce pro se. The basis that you'll be moving forward under South Carolina law is living separate and apart for 1 calendar year. What I mean by that is that both the husband and the wife are going to have to live separate and apart. Somebody's going to have to get an apartment, and they're going to have to move out of the marital home, and they're going to have to establish that they're no longer residing with one another, and they're going to have to be able to prove that with an independent witness in court that they have lived separate and apart for more than 1 year. The reason being is South Carolina, as a state, wants to encourage people to remain married, and they want to give them a cooling off period and some time to think about whether they actually want to move forward and get a divorce or not. So that's why you actually have to wait a year. An important thing to note, when people call me, a lot of times they're looking to get a divorce, but they don't have the necessary means financially to be able to afford it. So that's why I'm giving this information out. They can move forward under this basis and essentially pay the court costs and paperwork, administrative overhead, and spare themselves the cost of actually getting a lawyer if they use this particular means to do so. The downside is it really boils down to where you'd have a husband and a wife who don't have any children and essentially don't have very much in the way of marital property, because those are the things that tend to complicate divorces. It's really just where you've got two people who want the state to dissolve their civil union, and they really don't have a lot between them except the romantic interlude that has ended, unfortunately, and they're just looking for a resolution to that. The last point that we need to consider is something that people run into a good bit factually when they're calling me about divorces, and that's if you're in a situation where you're living separate and apart from your husband and or wife, and you reconcile, and by reconcile I mean that the husband and or wife comes over and they spend the night, or you guys decide to try to get back together and you spend 2 weeks together living at home, and then you realize, wait a minute, this isn't working out. When you reconcile, it restarts the clock, and that means that you have to again demonstrate that you guys are living separate and apart for 1 calendar year. So it's important, if you do decide to make this step and move forward on your own, that you kind of go with your gut and you stick to your guns. And you live separate and apart, you fulfill the obligations required by the state, and you move forward with the paperwork. I'm Frank Hartman, and today we discussed how someone can get a divorce in the state of South Carolina without a lawyer. If you're watching this video and you have questions, pick up the phone and call me at 843-300-7600. Feel free to look me up at thehartmanlawfirm.com. And thanks for watching.